Hello again. This is an addendum. Actually, I missed a couple of points. So when Biden was told, uh, that he had COVID, I'm not saying he was lying. We all know the story of COVID. Why would he want to make that up? But because the assault, the onslaught, and the assault on him, that's so heavy, that's so massive. I think they may have made him sick, right? Something similar to what happened to him, in maybe Camp David or something of the sort. Uh, and they told him it was COVID, right? So he had to sit down back and so on, and that allowed him time to really think all things over, and that may have actually played into his decision. He probably knows, like I told you, the guy is very smart. He's about 1,000 times at least smarter than all those presidents put together, all those fake presidents such as Bush, such as Obama, such as Trump, such as I don't know. You can go back to Bushes and whatnot, right? So I think he realized that that fake assassination attempt really was a message. He realized that he was somehow spiked with food or drink before the debate, even though he did good and he won. And then he thought about this worldwide computer event, outages and so on, and it's very obvious to me they're all interlinked, interconnected. So maybe they got him sick, right? This time around, and that's like one more thing that he realized that the assault on him is really unbearable, and at his age, and so on, and so forth, right? So all that I think played in his decision. I am not discounting the possibility of him being really in on it. Let's put it this way. But that's a very small possibility as I see it now. The guy was not. It was not intended to become a president. I think they were surprised and they fell just right through. They tried to jump between two mountains, right, or walk on a rope between, dance on a rope or walk on a rope between two skyscrapers, and they just fell down. And then he was the unintended president. So that I want to give him credit for. But there's that very minimal possibility or a chance of him being in on the game, right? On the conspiracy. So maybe they made him sick again. And then that's when he really pondered things, and he realized that the onslaught is really big, and his person could be, if his person, he mentioned that he reveres the office and so on, and maybe he thought if he's in there and then they did away with him, right? Then what's use of staying around? I don't know. I'm trying to put thoughts in his brain and change it into words in his mouth and behavior. But I wanna say that the guy has some real good excuse to really move on. That's that. So the entry. I'm going to tell you something that yesterday's act by Netanyahu, it sounded to me, it resonated and sounded like a Communist Party meeting with, or attendance, or some kind of a speech, or, Stalin wanted to deliver a speech, right? Whether it's a private meeting, similar, having all these comrades, right, sitting next to him, Khrushchev clapping hands and cheering him on and so on, and he's looking around. That's what it sounded like in the Congress yesterday. But is Netanyahu really in charge of the Congress? I don't think so. They were just welcoming to him and so on and so forth. But he tried to behave that way, right? I mean, I'm not saying the guy, those Ashkenazi or Ashkenazi, Nazi, right? Nazi or Ashkenazi, or Khazars or Kazaks. Let me tell you something about Trump. I remember, he hinted at the Third Reich, right? And then he started talking about Bible, selling Bible, right? When everybody knows he got no idea of what Bible is. I remember this guy Trump. When he called, we all know Nazism, it's pronounced as Nazi. I remember, said Nazi, N-A-Z-I. He said Nazi. which means he has no clue what it is, right? The guy is basically, you're playing dumb. Go find it, as he's on record. He says the Nazis, right? Nazis, instead of saying Nazis, right? Which is the German pronunciation for the word Nazis, right? Or the second half of Ishkenazi, right? And that's what Hitler is. He's really an Ishkenazi, right? Ishkenazi. So that's that. So that's Biden's sickness, and that's Stalin trying to look like Stalin. I don't think he has that power in the US. I mean, he has power in the government halls and through Mrs. Baylock, that's Nancy Pelosi, and, and so on and so forth. And, he showed that he can wreak havoc on the world, but he doesn't really rule the United States. And there was the undertone of desperation that with all that, the killing they've done in the last century and the century before, whether in the Middle East or anywhere else, they're still obscure, they're still insecure, they still haven't reached their goal, I wouldn't say they were total failure, but what they've achieved so far is 5%, maybe 10% of what they were targeting. Like their target was 100% by year 22, right? 2022. In the year 2022, in the year 2025, in the year 25, if man is still alive, if woman can survive. And then you pick your child from a glass tube, right? That's reality, folks. That's what it is. I had promised to talk about oil, and I'm going to try to address this particular thing briefly. This thing that happened in 1973. Here are the facts. There was no oil embargo in 1973. It was the oil output was reduced by some 5%, I believe, or thereabout. But it was heavily used by oil companies, by stock markets, by here and there, and they basically raked billions on account of Americans back then, right? I assure you, there was absolutely no no oil embargo. Oil kept flowing, but it was reduced by 5%, some kind of a threat or something of the sort. But we know the Saudi family has always been a Netanyahu, right? Netanyahu's. So you know that story, right? It was, and now that made Americans hate Arabs, and Arabs hate Americans, and so on. Arabs don't hate Americans. I remember those regimes that you support in the Middle East, such as that of Assad or anywhere else. They taught us in school that America is imperialism, America is colonialist, America is there to destroy us, blah, blah, blah. And you guys went there and died in the millions or hundreds of thousands in order to show up those regimes. They are surrogates of Israel. The Syrian regime, the Iraq regime now, the Iran regime, and now the Egypt regime, and Algeria's regime, and what they're trying to achieve here and there, like in Yemen and in Sudan, and in Turkey. These are all surrogates of Israel, right? If you keep this in mind, you will reach the correct conclusions about the modern events. That's all I wanted to say. So these guys are going to try to, like I said, they're going to wreak havoc. I mean, wreaking havoc was going to happen regardless, right? But now, so and so. Is there a civil war? I told you I doubt it anymore, because Biden is out, and this is the main target. He was to be out, but Kamala Harris is really your typical Trump and Obama and Netanyahu and Mrs. Baylock, and that's Nancy Pelosi. Yes, Mom. She was there to protect Z. He was sitting right in front of the fireplace. Do you see? Go look at that. The fireplace has a lot of meaning for those occultist heretics, right? The Netanyahu and whatnot. They come from Khazaria, and that's where that thing lives, right? Have a nice day. And this is just an antenna. Take care.